Hey, hey, it's Friday. Happy Friday to you. I am here with my standing observation for this week, and I've had a very big week. I've had an interesting week. Last weekend, last was Saturday, one of my idols died. Doesn't that piss you off? Actually, it didn't piss me off because she was 102. You know what? 102. I love that. I love 102. Her name's Iris Apfel, and I wrote a blog about it for those of you who get my newsletters. If you don't, you really should. They're quite good. I write twice a week, and you can subscribe to them at lisaoneal.co.nz. There's a little box and you can fill in your email address. I can't send them to you unless you allow me, because there's rules, you can't just go sending shit to people or someone jumps in and growls. So you have to subscribe, and then I can send you my thinking twice a week. It's called I've Been Thinking. I do a lot of thinking. God, I love it. Anyway, I was thinking this week and I wrote about Iris Apfel, who died on the 1st of March at 102 years old. So she was this legendary businesswoman. She was everything I love about the world. She was bold. She was herself. She was fully self-expressed. She was self-employed. There's a beautiful documentary. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it, called Iris. I know it's on Apple TV. Came out about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. Extraordinary documentary. And even if you're not interested in fashion, or I don't know, just watch it. It is the most extraordinary documentary about a life well lived and just living as yourself. So Iris was she started out her life as an interior decorator and designed textiles, and she worked with all the famous people. She decorated Estee Lauder's house. She worked for John F. Kennedy, like all the big people, George Bush, all the people. So she did 9 presidents' administration redesigns of the White House, and she was the interior decorator, and she couldn't find the things she wanted to use in decorations, so she created them and traveled the world looking for them. Now, while she was doing that, she had a very eclectic kind of style, and she would buy incredible pieces of jewelry, and some of it was from markets in Harlem, junk shops, not necessarily expensive things. She was really, really fascinating. So quite quirky and eclectic, and wore kinds of hilarious things. She was very well known for wearing a shit ton of beads, and I loved her. She's got a famous quote that her mother worshipped at the altar of the accessory. And as an ex-fashion stylist and someone who does love an accessory, I fell in love with Iris years and years and years ago and have followed her. There was a famous quote from her mother that she worshipped at the altar of the accessory, which I love, and as an ex-stylist and someone who bloody absolutely adores accessories, I loved that. And she was very well known for all of these crazy fucking accessories, and was just fun. And she had a joke that it used to take her an hour to get dressed. She would only go out for half an hour. And some of her accessories were so heavy, she couldn't wear them for more than an hour. And yeah, she was just an extraordinary woman. So I highly recommend you watch that documentary. And what I loved about her, apart from the fact that she's an extraordinary individual and very expressed and very just authentically herself. She just doesn't give a shit. You got to see her house. You got to see the way she is with her husband. She's just an extraordinary woman for her time, 102 years old. She became a cover girl for Vogue. I think she was 99, and when she was 97, she became the face of a MAC makeup campaign. Extraordinary achievements for the age, and at a time where people sort of get to slow down in their age, I go, oh my God, she was ramping up. She became an accidental icon, was her phrase. And she never meant to become famous, she just did. And it started with a Met Opera display of her clothing, and she just became an overnight kind of icon. So anyway, so I started the week hearing that she had died, and I was like, wow, and then I'm like, and people going, oh my God, it's so sad. I'm like, see, I don't think it is. She fucking deserved to lie down, don't you reckon? 102? I don't think it's sad. I have an interesting relationship with death. I think it's a promotion. And I think, yay you, Iris, you did the most amazing job. You inspired hundreds of thousands of people, left an incredible legacy, And now you get to rest. And she gets to be with her husband, Carl. Beautiful Carl. He died at 100 and he's in the documentary. So if you like the idea of positive aging, I'm kind of into this. I also watched the Blue Zone documentary a while back on Netflix, and that's about the areas in the world that are blue zones where people live to over 100. And there's particular areas. Anyway, it's a cool documentary if you haven't seen that. Another thing worth watching, and what they eat and what they do. Then I had a friend come and stay this week who it was lovely to have her stay, and she's 84 and she's a friend. Now, I have a very interesting, I don't really see age. I'm not really interested in age, as in I don't really notice if someone's 30, 40, 50, 60. I don't care. I'm interested in, are they clever? Are they interesting? Are they fun? And Joan came and stayed. So Joan is the sister of a very dear friend of mine who died 3 years ago. And so Joan came and stayed, and she came over from Australia. So I got to hang out with Joan for a week. Now she's 84 and she's fucking amazing. And I'm like, oh my God. So she's 30 years older than me, right? 30 years older than me. And apart from work, she does everything I do. Like there's nothing she doesn't really do. She doesn't work anymore. Doesn't need to. But I was watching her and she came and stayed at my home, and I was just blown away. And I reckon I've been keeping an eye on her. I've been creating my own documentary in my head about what is it, just studying her. Felt like David Attenborough going, here is Joan in an environment, a domestic environment. And, what are the behaviours that she has that are kind of making her so cool? And I reckon there's 5 of them. So I watched everything Joan did. She was all about moderation. So she says no to nothing, but not yes to everything. Right? I love that. So she's into, like, I'm like, do you want a wine? Yes. But she would have 1/4 of a glass. Would you like some chocolate? Yes. She'd have 1 square. She wasn't an excessive person. She said moderation, everything in moderation. You never want to say no to things. I'm like, I love that. I love that about her. And I think, I can be a bit of an extremist, when it comes, I can be a bit of a glutton. I can be like, oh, I'm going to have half the pavlova, and I'm going to either drink or not drink, where she's very moderate. And I thought that was a good lesson. She's also very, very good at connection. So just putting a lot of energy into people, especially friends, but people, very people focused. Like I noticed she had a phone call with one of her best friends every day. She was very busy while she was here visiting New Zealand to meet with people, to find people, asking where they were, how they were, what were they up to, where could she find them. Just a people-focused person, and I do believe that connection is the blood that runs in our veins, like it's what keeps us alive. And she was definitely a beautiful example of that. She was up for anything that involved meeting someone, talking to someone, or learning about someone, just asking questions. Oh, what are they doing? Where are they? Very interested in people, which I thought was gorgeous. Which takes me into the third one, which is about being interesting and keeping busy. So there wasn't a moment where she wasn't doing something, talking to someone, just keeping herself busy and occupied. And I think it stops the boredom and the dumb stuff, right? Like just stops the boring stuff. So she's very busy, not busy as in chaotic, but just always doing something. She's a mad knitter. So if her mouth's not moving, her hands were. Right? I love that. So kept herself busy and always had something interesting to talk about. She had a question or she had an observation. So it was very, very interesting. She's very grateful, like really grateful to people for what they did and what they said, and was very much like very affirming. Like everyone she met, she was like, oh, well, aren't you wonderful? And you look fabulous. And how kind of you to pop in. And was just had a very beautiful kind of attitude of gratitude. I love that. And then the fifth one is actually about attitude as well, which is a real can-do attitude. Oh, I can do that. Oh, yes, we could do that. People would say, oh, well, you could come out and visit at the farm. Oh, yes, I could do that. She was telling me about one of her neighbours who's in his 80s, and his daughter was moving into a new house, and he was saying they were having a working bee. And she said, oh, what can I do? Right, 84 years old and offering to help at a working bee. She said, well, I'm not going to I'm not going to water blast the driveway, but I could organise the plate cupboard. I could fold the laundry. Like, she's just got this real can-do attitude. Like, what can I do rather than what can't I do? And it was such a privilege to hang out with her. And I'm just like, do you know what? That's how I want to be. That is how I want to be. So I'm really kind of thinking about those. That's my observation for the week, about moderation, connection, being interesting, keeping busy, being grateful, and having a can-do attitude. And I reckon we could all learn a lot from that, right? And I look at other people who are, they're limiting themselves. They're focused on what they can't do. They're basically waiting for God, going, well, it won't be long now. And I'm like, fuck, what are you doing, man? You're alive. Being alive's such a privilege, isn't it? So yeah, that was my observation. A tribute to the oldies. And so if you're into aging well, hat tip to you, man. And if you're young, get off your ass and get focused on how you're going to age well. And look after your body, because if you don't look after your body, you'll have nowhere to live. So there you go. That's my observation. Thank you very much for hanging out with me this Friday. Have a fabulous weekend. Big love to you.